So, after years of rumors, speculation, and concept renders floating around online, it looks like Apple is finally preparing to step into the foldable phone market. Yeah, the iPhone Fold is becoming real. Now, don't get too excited just yet. Reports say it may not show up until late next year, or maybe even early 2027. But considering how Apple usually plays the long game, that timeline actually makes sense. They tend to wait until the tech feels polished enough, and then they release something that fits right into their ecosystem. Now, let's talk about what this thing is shaping up to be. Based on everything we know so far, Apple's foldable isn't going to be a flip phone style device. Instead, it's more of a book style foldable. That means when it's closed, you get a normal outer screen, and when you unfold it, you open up into a much larger display. The inner screen is rumored to be about 7.8 inches, which puts it almost in mini iPad territory. The outer display is said to measure 5.5 inches, and both are supposed to be wider than what we've seen from other foldables. That's actually a big deal, because wider displays make typing and everyday use way more comfortable. The real question is how Apple is going to handle the hinge. Foldable phones live and die by hinge design. From leaks and analyst reports, Apple might use a mix of titanium and liquid metal in the hinge, which could mean a much cleaner folding experience, almost crease-free. If they can actually pull that off, it would be huge. Think about it. One of the main complaints about foldables is that visible crease running down the middle of the display. If Apple delivers a near-perfect flat screen when unfolded, that instantly sets them apart. And while we're talking about materials, it looks like titanium might play a major role in the build of this device. Apple introduced titanium on the iPhone 15 Pro lineup, and people loved how strong yet lightweight it felt. Rumor has it that Apple will save titanium for their most premium devices going forward. If the Fold is positioned as a super high-end product, then a titanium and steel combo for the body makes perfect sense. It feels premium, it's durable, and it keeps the phone in line with Apple's push for higher-end finishes. Now, this is surprising, but early reports suggest Apple may actually skip Face ID on the Fold. The reason? Internal space. With foldables, every millimeter counts. Instead, Apple could bring back Touch ID, possibly integrated into the power button, or even under the display. That's a bold move considering Face ID has been Apple's go-to for years. But if they can pull off a reliable Touch ID setup, I think a lot of people will welcome it, especially those who still miss having that option. Now, cameras. This is Apple, so expectations are high. From what's being said, the iPhone Fold might feature two 48-megapixel sensors, a main wide-angle and an ultra-wide. The main camera would likely match the iPhone 16 Pro's specs, with advanced stabilization and a large sensor. The ultra-wide would also be 48 megapixels. What's missing here, at least in early reports, is a dedicated telephoto lens. Apple could be prioritizing space efficiency over camera versatility in the first-gen model, which might disappoint some users. But if the main and ultra-wide shooters deliver the same quality we've come to expect from the Pro models, the Fold should still hold its own in day-to-day photography. On the inner screen, Apple is rumored to be testing an under-display selfie camera. That would make sense. You don't want a punch hole distracting you on a large immersive display. Meanwhile, the cover screen might stick with a more traditional punch hole selfie camera, similar to what we see on current iPhones. This balance could give Apple both a clean inner screen and reliable selfie performance on the outer display. And here's the thing. For all the hardware talk, we know that Apple rarely tries to be first. They usually let other companies test. The waters then enter when they feel confident they can nail the experience. Foldables have been around for a while now, but they've always had compromises, creases, bulk, durability concerns. Apple's strategy seems to be waiting until they can eliminate, or at least reduce those compromises before they bring one to market. Oh, and by the way, if you're enjoying this breakdown so far, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a like. It really helps support the channel and lets me know you're into this kind of content. So, with design, materials, hinge, and cameras covered, the big picture is clear. Apple wants this foldable to feel like a true iPhone, not a science experiment. The question is, can they really deliver something that feels modern and premium by the time this device launches? Possibly in 2026 or 2027. That's what we'll dig into next. Alright, let's move past design and cameras and talk about some of the practical details. Thickness, for example. Foldables are always thicker than standard phones, and Apple's first version probably won't be any different. Reports suggest the iPhone Fold could measure around 4.8 millimeters when unfolded, and roughly 9 to 9.5 millimeters when folded. That's a little thicker than what you'd expect from a normal iPhone, but honestly, Apple is likely to prioritize durability and battery over shaving off every fraction of a millimeter, at least for the first generation. Speaking of performance, the chip powering this foldable is rumored to be Apple's upcoming A20 Bionic on TSMC's 2-nanometer process. That would be a huge step forward from the A18, and even the A19 we'll see in the next couple of Pro iPhones. We're talking about faster performance, better efficiency, and new packaging technology that should help with heat management. Foldables generate more heat than regular phones because of the dual screens, so thermal efficiency will be key here. Add to that 12 gigs of RAM, which lines up with what we're expecting on the iPhone 17 Pro, and on paper, this foldable should have plenty of horsepower for multitasking. Now, software. This is where Apple can really stand out. Hardware-wise, sure, foldables are impressive, but they only shine if the software takes advantage of them. According to reports, Apple is already developing a foldable-optimized version of iOS, possibly iOS 27, that would come with features like windowed multitasking, split-screen support, and custom layouts for the larger inner display. It won't just run the same version of iOS you see on today's iPhones. There could even be elements borrowed from iPadOS, making the Fold feel almost like an iPad in your pocket when it's open, but still like an iPhone when it's closed. That seamless transition would make this device much more than just a bigger phone. It could redefine how people use iPhones altogether. Now let's address the crease again, because this is one of the most talked about challenges for foldables. Apple is rumored to be working with suppliers to use a new type of hinge and metal stress distribution system that could nearly eliminate the crease altogether. No foldable has truly pulled this off yet. If Apple manages to be the first to deliver a screen that looks completely flat, it could easily become one of the biggest selling points of the device. Battery life is another question mark. Rumors suggest a 5,000 to 5,500 milliamp-hour battery, which would make it Apple's largest phone battery ever. That's necessary to power 2 displays, of course, but the challenge is balancing size and thickness. Apple may explore new materials like silicon-carbon batteries, which pack more capacity into smaller sizes. If they can deliver an iPhone Fold that actually lasts a full day of heavy use, something a lot of current foldables still struggle with, that could make a big difference. And here's a thought. This device might not just replace your iPhone. For some people, it could replace their iPad too. Think about it. A pocket-sized device that folds out into a near 8-inch screen. For a lot of users, that might be enough to skip carrying a separate tablet altogether. I can already see Apple marketing this as a 2-in-1 solution. The portability of an iPhone, the productivity of an iPad, all in one device. That could justify a lot of the design choices we're hearing about, like the bigger battery and the wider displays. Of course, all of this comes at a cost, and if you are hoping for affordability, brace yourself. Analysts are predicting a starting price north of $2,000. That's right. It would instantly be one of the most expensive iPhones Apple has ever made. But here's the thing. Apple knows their audience. The first generation of a brand new product category is always going to cost a premium. And honestly, for the die-hard Apple fans who want the latest and greatest, I don't think the price will stop them. The bigger question is whether Apple can make the Fold compelling enough for the average iPhone user to even consider. Apple is working on a foldable iPhone that could combine premium materials, strong performance, a nearly crease-free display, and software designed specifically to take advantage of the form factor. The timeline may be long and the price may be high, but if Apple delivers on the experience, this device could kick off an entirely new chapter for the iPhone lineup. With that said, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more content like this. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one.